Welcome to the Turning Stone Show, where we discuss topics of the human experience. We're here to offer conversation, ask questions, and explore. I'm David Marsh, and here with me, as always, is Jesse Farrell and Justin Lamont. Our topic today is My Needs, My Responsibility, Effective Communication for Personal Fulfillment. Our guest today is Tarley Reed. She is a coach, a communicator, and she helps to empower and inspire people with their personal life goals and implementation. Recently, we spent some time with her to see the importance of balance in our lives.
I'm a coach, and a coach can mean so many things. I work in the business world, specifically in healthcare, to empower and inspire their team members so that they can see a culture that has their business be profitable just because the patients and the clients enjoy going there because of how they feel, because the team enjoys how they feel. I coach personally because as a coach, what I do is I listen to people greater than they listen to themselves. It allows them the space to step into this greatness that's already there, and I ask them the questions that will trigger their own answers, but I just hold a space for them.
So much sense when they know each other. It's just a small world.
Balance is a really important focus in my life because if there is no balance, I feel like I can't be the best anywhere, and I really support that in the business world. It's what I incorporate in when I am coaching the teams. And personally, when I coach individuals, I let them know the importance of what balance brings to them because they can experience more in life if you're balanced. And so it's not about working too much or working too little. It's enjoying the extremes on each end. It's like loving to be by yourself as much as you love to be with other people and just allowing yourself the flexibility to go from one end to the other. It's always looking at yourself and where you're responsible in the matter of how your life goes. And when people are willing to look at that, they have access to having more of what they want. An easy way to fulfill our needs is setting boundaries. And a lot of times, setting boundaries is a way of honoring yourself. And when you can honor yourself, you can honor others, and you just have more to give.
Tarley, that was great. I know that a lot of us have things within us that we feel are needs, things that we need to have fulfilled in our lives, whether it's a need for power or food or sex or recreation or things. How important is it for us to have those needs inside of us be fulfilled before we can help others?
When you are fulfilled, you have more to give. And a lot of it is thinking that what you want is important enough for yourself, for you to have, honestly. Some people are like, okay, yeah, I would like to go take care of myself. I would like to take time to, I don't know, whether it be go work out, go to a movie, get your nails done. But other people are more, I gotta take care of my kids. I gotta, I need to do this with my friends. I need to stay and work later. They think that that's more important, and it's not, because it depletes them over time, and then they have less to give people. So honoring your needs is a way of filling your own container, so you just have more to give.
How do you balance your work-life balance, your kids, the spouse, the dog going to the vet, and you have all these pressures and cares, and then you have this longing and desire to drop it all and to run as fast as you can the other direction? How do you balance your responsibilities that you have versus your desires, the things that you would rather be doing, the stress and how to run away from it? Talk about that whole thing.
I think everybody identifies with that. They're just like, there's not time for me. It's just because they don't understand the priority of themselves. When you fly in the airplane, put your mask on first, not your kids. Like, really, we hear it, but we don't really get it, and it really is. And I promise you, when you change your intention around, let me take care of myself so that I can really take care of others, you'll have the time.
So we're in this very self-focused culture, right?
Yeah.
And you often hear the flip side of that, where people say, focus your attention on others if you want relief from all the stress you're having from focusing on yourself. I like to take those two sides. Where do you find the connection between both of those?
God, it's such a good question. I'm going to answer that with balance. It comes from balance. In my whole life, I've never worked 5 days a week. Why? Because it's ridiculous. Because how do you take care of your personal life in 2 days and then you spend like your professional life in 5 days? It's the silliest thing ever. And because of that, I have time to manage my personal life. I have time to manage my professional life because I've been in demand for it only to go that way. And I feel that has created the opportunity for me to have, it's like I can be responsible with my personal time and my professional life because I just set the structure up to be that way. And because I feel that I am balanced, I take care of myself, it's like I have more to then be focused on others. Because my cup is so full. So I can focus on others and be selfless and of service because I have so much to give.
Is there like a certain amount of time that you need to give to yourself to be able to be outward focused to give to others? Do you allot yourself?
It's not a time thing. It is
quality.
But it's a feeling. I just know when it's important for me. It's kind of like that thing, like I just know I would never work 5 days a week. I just know that like when I'm driving here, I don't want to talk on the phone. I want to listen to music. It's just my time. And I don't know that I say, okay, I need 5 hours a week to only personal time for me. It might work for some people that way. To me, I just kind of feel through it. I just know when I'm getting feisty and I'm just like, no, I'm frustrated, I'm short. It's because I'm out of balance now and I need to chill out. I tell my kids, listen, Mom's not doing well right now. Okay, give me some space, and then that way I can then honor their needs because once I get caught up on mine. But I just listen to how I feel.
What are some things you do to refill yourself, to energize yourself again, to take care of your needs?
Sometimes I do nothing.
Yeah.
I actually do nothing. Like I sit in my house and do nothing.
Like you're watching TV, doing nothing?
I don't even watch TV. Sometimes I just sit there. Sometimes I sit in my bed and I'm just like staring at the wall. Like literally sometimes I do nothing. Sometimes, you know what? I go see movies. Movies are like an escape for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I call my girlfriends and I just had a girls' weekend with my friends, which I haven't done in years because why? I'm married, I had kids, I'm working, and I forget the importance of that. And going away with my girlfriends for the weekend was priceless. I had conversations and interactions that I haven't had. I laughed and I just did things that I haven't done for so long.
See, I have to keep all my girlfriends separate. I can't bring them all together. They don't know about each other.
It's a personal problem. So even me knowing this, there's still other areas that I forget that I'm like, oh, it is important for me to hang out with my girlfriends. And so that's something that I do.
If you have responsibilities and you are taking the time to go on a weekend adventure, whatever that might be, you have to have support. You can't just leave your responsibilities without having support outside of your own decision, if that makes sense. So like what I'm thinking is, okay, I'm a dad. If I want to do that and I'm responsible for taking care of my daughter, I have to have outside support that is willing to support my need to, let's say, get a couple hours for myself or to go on a weekend for myself. I need someone to help me watch my daughter. That is analogous to not just people that are parents, but people that have any responsibility. They need support.
You find the support. You first have to be clear on what your priority is. Because here's the deal, if you know that you want to go out with your friends or you want to go do something, then you know you're going to need to find a sitter. So then you're going to plan ahead of time to get a sitter.
Yeah.
The question is have you made it a priority to honor yourself and the needs that you have? So I don't even know that it's so much about support as it is, are you clearing the priorities in your life? So that
and you said it earlier
right.
too. You've organized your life in such a way where you work 4 days a week, you have 3 days off, and so you begin to organize your life and look for opportunities in your life where you can do those things to fill your cup back up.
Yeah.
And especially when you co-parent or you're divorced and you have offset, then you start to look at like, okay, I've got this weekend that I can do something, this weekend I can do something, or things like that, where there's lots of different ways you organize yourself. But even when it comes to a pet, you can't, if I have a dog, I can't leave my dog alone at home while I'm gone. Maybe a cat, yes. fish, birds. There's still always something that there's
manage.
responsibilities.
Yeah, there is.
Plants to be watered. I mean, if you live in Arizona, I know every time I've left for the summer and I come back, even if I've had somebody else manage my plants while I've been gone, and it seems to always happen in July, I come back and my plants are dead.
Oh.
Dead.
Well, they didn't love them.
They didn't love them as much as I
No.
So in this whole process of finding time for yourself, you have to create some set of boundaries for yourself where you say, okay, I have this much to give, but now I need to have mommy time out time.
Yeah.
How do you institute that with a family situation with small children and maybe even in a business situation so that your business doesn't run you, you run your business?
Yeah. It's almost the value that you feel that you deserve. It's like what you feel you deserve. Like, your boundaries are important. Listen, I need to get this done right now. Before I leave, I need no one to talk to me for an hour. I'm going to go over here and close the door so no one can talk to me for an hour. It all comes down to you. It's no one else's fault or responsibility. When you are clear on what you want in your life, you can make it happen because everybody is so capable of everything and anything they want to do.
And it's even deeper it's even more than really what you want. It is really even what you're committed to. Like if you're committed to getting that done, you're going to make sure it happens.
You're totally getting it done.
Yeah.
I want to know why he's laughing. Because I want to
when
laugh.
when you said that, I go,
No.
Anytime somebody says something poignant,
Yeah.
I'm like,
that
that
was-
really touched me there.
Yeah.
It's a vibration.
I like
Justin
that.
gets touched a lot.
But
by
Dave,
those.
But then when
every
I
time
listen to
that he
it
listens to it
later on, I hear him do that, and I say, you might want to be aware of that. It's just a little thing that he does.
I
It's,
like it. And then you just get to know Justin. That's Justin.
It's just who Justin is.
Yes.
It's all good.
Pretty soon
I
the
love
legs
you.
of this sim are just going to fall off because Justin's bouncing everywhere. Stop it. All right. I think when you're doing a lot of those things like that to fill yourself up, to re-energize yourself, to take care of yourself, I have a friend, her name is Renee, and she calls them self-esteem boosters. Because every single time you're doing something like that to take care of yourself, you're building your self-esteem. And every time you don't, you're like chipping away on your self-esteem. You're like chipping away, until at some point you're just completely depleted. And so I really have started just noticing that even for myself, like, okay, what are the little things I can do for myself? Like you were talking about, just listening, whether maybe it's a pedicure or even if it's a haircut or a facial, or just turning everything off, turning my phone completely off or on airplane mode, and just sitting there completely alone is divine sometimes.
Yes.
And so I think it's really like what you were saying, is just finding whatever those things are for you.
Yeah.
And they're going to be different for everybody. So listening to that and then filling yourself up. But listening also, like, don't get so depleted that you go into a meltdown before you start filling yourself back up.
I think people have to
Balance.
understand how they first have to understand how important it is for them to take care of themselves before they can take care of anyone. I think it's just kind of like this thing of like, no, just give, and it's, they don't understand they just can't give what they don't have. I've said this so many times
So true.
to people at work, and I think it's kind of like that moment of like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then there's this moment where you really get like, it's not about, no, you can't give money if you don't have it. It's emotional too. You just can't give love if you don't have it. You can't give appreciation if you don't appreciate yourself. You can't appreciate others. When I was growing up, I remember like had so much self-hatred of my body, and I would always look around for other women who I just thought looked bad, because I was just like, oh yeah, they look, that's horrible. They look fat. That's, why is she wearing that dress? And as I got more love and appreciation for my body, what I started noticing is I noticed all the beautiful women. I noticed, I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks so great. Oh, I love how she does that. I love how she wears that. I love her hair. And because I had more to give, because it all started how I felt right here.
And also you're switching your focus.
Yeah.
Yes, and my focus was switched because it's what I had inside. It was just what I was full of.
Yeah.
It was just what I was present to in my own life, and that's what I just saw around me.
Now, we saw you go from a corporate setting, a business setting, to a personal setting where you're talking with people. How do you integrate vulnerability with yourself when you're talking with other people? Because I know for you, as you are open to sharing, that's where transformation comes with people. How does that work for you?
Like just really being open. I'm just really open. I just am willing to trust that for me to share myself authentically, I like it. I actually like it. I like people to know who I am. And because of that, people feel safe to share back with me who they are. And I don't consider necessarily, now we're in a corporate setting, so I need to now pull it together. Nope, I be me.
Yeah.
How vulnerable do you allow yourself to get, corporate versus non-corporate?
There's not a difference for me. Like Tarley that shows up in the corporate setting, coaching someone there, and Tarley who's coaching, people outside personally, it is the same Tarley.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I do not change. Now, some of my shares might be different because some might focus around work and how I'm being vulnerable and asking for help versus like how I'm sharing personally. Like I'm still asking for help, but it might be in a relationship, like a personal relationship versus like a professional relationship. Like I needed someone to help me do a task, but I don't change. I share things that are sometimes like, oh, wow, can't believe you just shared that. That's the beauty of what has people feel safe and trust you. And then you have a beautiful coaching relationship because people just want you to listen to them greater than they listen to themselves. Actually, they don't even know that they want that, but that's what a coach knows to do. And then it just provides a really safe space for them to start being in the inquiry of like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I am somebody who has created really great results and I can continue to create great results. Who doesn't like to share authentically?
Yeah.
One of the things I know you and I have talked a lot about is boundaries. And what was fascinating for me is understanding that I have some boundaries that I didn't realize I had. And then also understanding where I can create more boundaries that I could really use. And so talk a little bit about how do you work with people that don't even know what boundaries are, even how to create boundaries, or what are important boundaries to even have?
That's such a great question because a really great way to figure out when you have boundaries is when something happens to you that you don't like. Because in that moment, you're clear. So when something that you don't like, the moment something happens that you don't like, you're clear about what you do like. Because it's the opposite. It brings clarity. So it's brilliant. Every time there's a problem or something, you're just like, wow, I do not like that this person is talking bad about, is not saying nice things about this person. You're like, oh, wow, that brings clarity. Okay, I like people that just, speak highly of others. And it's a really great way to find your own boundaries. When something occurs to you that creates some kind of discord or unhappiness, it's because you have a boundary that you've just realized. Like, okay, I do not like when I eat too much gluten because I feel puffy. And I'm like, stop eating gluten. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Creates it, and then I'm like, now it's up to me to honor the boundary, but I understand the boundary.
Yeah.
But there's also times when you have a boundary that needs to be in place, and there's other times when you have boundaries that you shouldn't have. Yeah. You need to let your guard down. You need to be vulnerable. I mean, there's both sides. You do a lot of coaching where people say, well, this is the way it is, and I set a boundary here with a spouse or a loved one, and we don't do this, and we only do these things, not these things. Maybe sometimes you need to let those boundaries down and you need to be adventurous. You need to go away with the girls for the weekend. You need to do some fun stuff. Talk to the point of taking down the guard and letting the joy flow.
It's not even about letting your boundaries down. It's almost about discovering what they are. Mm-hmm. It might be that if you want to go do a girls trip and your partner is like, no, I only want you to go on trips with me. And you're like, okay. It might be understanding, well, that desire that you have of like, that's really important to me. It's you tuning into that, the feelings. I really, really believe that, feelings are a guidance system. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're a connection to your spirit, your soul, and they can really guide you if you choose to look at them that way. I think a lot of people try to tune them out. For many, many years, I was totally numbed out and nothing, and I would just manage, I just worked through everything in my life. It was fine. Everything was fine. And it was totally fine. But there was this unhappiness. There was just kind of like this dullness. And I didn't know how I felt. I really didn't.
So you have your intuition, you have your emotions, you have your feelings. I know for myself, I'm highly emotional and have lots of feelings, and I tend to guide myself a lot by my feelings versus really looking at what my commitments are. And I tend to Like, no, you know what? It just feels. I discovered this morning. It was so great. I have been resisting getting up at 5 o'clock and going hiking with a group of my friends because I'm like, there's no way I want to get up that early. Like, it's too freaking early.
You had a
in the morning
boundary
to
at
get up.
5 a.m.
No way. And I noticed this morning, okay, so they changed the whole thing. Like it was just like 2 people and they went hiking in tutus. And then before you knew it, there was like 4 people hiking in tutus. And before you knew that, there was like 6. And finally, I got invited yesterday, which I'd been invited this entire time. And I'm like, no way am I getting up that early. I don't care if you are hiking in tutus. And I noticed halfway down my hike today that...
Were you wearing a tutu?
So you
and
went.
I was wearing a tutu.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
There was like 12 of us wearing tutus. It was so awesome. We were
And
the
only
tutu
tutus?
club. Well, no.
Okay.
We weren't wearing.
I
clarified. I was like, are we only supposed to wear tutus?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Do you have a picture of that?
We do have a picture of that. But I noticed halfway down my hike is it has taken a lot more energy to resist me getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and staying in bed than it actually took for me to get up this morning, get dressed, and go hike and have a great time and how good I felt. And it was really an eye-opener for me to notice I've been resisting this for 2.5 months. And today I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to be in a tutu.
And that's the example of you laying down that boundary.
I laid down the boundary and I did something different. Tomorrow I'm going to get up again. I'm going to go hike again. I'm going to go with my little tutu and I'm going to have a great time.
So I want some clarity here. We need to clarify the difference between a boundary that is aligned with your values.
I guess I'm thinking
and
it's
something
a
that is
wall.
in resistance.
Yeah,
there's a difference between the two.
It was more something that was resistance, and I think that the more you...
What were you resisting?
Just getting up that early.
Too early for it. He doesn't go to bed till really
But no,
late.
you weren't resisting getting up that early because you weren't getting up that early.
I wasn't, that's true.
So what were you resisting?
What was I resisting? Gosh. There had to be something around, like, I was justifying that I needed my sleep.
Yeah.
And so I was there was something like, there was definitely some justification that I needed my sleep and it was more important than actually getting exercise.
I almost hear
But there was something else though too. I don't quite know what it is. That's a great question.
I feel like what I hear is just like you were resisting the desire that you had. You didn't want to get up at 5 in the morning, but you were like thinking you should. And there was the resistance.
Well, it's the best time for me to work out, I notice. And I've had energy all day and it's been great. Yet there's that breaking point. Had I waited another 2 hours of sleep, then I notice I'm so tired halfway during the day. I need a nap. Whereas today, that's not been the case whatsoever. I think there's a lot around like how much that shows up in my life that I put so much resistance to not doing things where it's just chipping away all the time.
It's almost like you're just resisting your own thoughts and feelings around it. Like you really didn't feel like going. And if it was just that easy and like, okay, yeah, cool, I don't feel like going, you didn't like start like beating yourself up like, but I should because I get tired, so it's the best time to work out. I'm not going to work out. But what if you were just like, yeah, I just don't feel like getting up at 5 in the morning, and there was no resistance to that thought? Like you could just allow yourself to feel that way without thinking you should be thinking some other way. It can just dissipate it, and then all of a sudden you might feel like actually going to get up now.
That's exactly what happened. Like I think there's a moment of surrender.
Yeah.
There's a moment of acceptance and surrender when you reach that point. Like, why? Like, just go have fun.
Or it's almost just a moment of surrender. That's just really how you felt, and you don't need to justify it. It's like for women, it's just like, I don't want to eat that piece of pizza, or I don't want to have that piece of cake. Okay, I don't want to. I shouldn't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then it's just like, but if you just did it, then you just didn't want any more. But it's like it's the battle that we have with ourselves in our head. Like we shouldn't. But I want to. I mean, it's like if you should just be like, okay, but I do, and you have some, and then it's just like it's gone. It's almost just like honoring how you really feel about it without making yourself wrong about it.
Yeah.
As human behavior, like how much do you? I mean, how often do you deal with just that in coaching? Like how much of behavior is that we just all have? Like there's something we're resistant in our lives.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
Does it actually decrease the balance and the giving to ourselves and the filling
It
up that you
decreases
talked
the
about?
joy in your life.
The joy.
It really is. It decreases joy. If people were listening to this and the one thing that they could get would be just give up the resistance. So you're driving down the road, someone cuts you off. Oh, someone cut me off. Your friend was supposed to call you at 5 o'clock. They didn't call you to 5:05. Oh, okay. Like you had no resistance to every single thing that happened to you in your life as you went. Your life would be magical.
So,
It sounds like a fairy tale, though.
yeah.
And if
Okay, go ahead.
that's good, I love it.
Well, not like a fairy tale, but almost like woo-woo. Like, oh, I'm just coasting along, like I'm smoking some weed, I'm just so happy-go-lucky.
Well, there's the element you brought in earlier, which is this is where boundaries come in. So you're coasting along, accepting everything, and then along that process is, oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, what I'm hearing is the first part is acceptance. And then in that process, there's also acceptance of, I don't like that. There's a boundary. So that's what I'm hearing. And I think because I can speak for myself, I struggle with boundaries in every area of my life. So what Jesse said earlier is highly emotional, very feeling-centered. For anybody that studies Myers-Briggs, Jesse and I are both ENFPs.
Always flirting.
Yeah, we're ENFPs.
Always flirty.
Yeah, and the way that ENFPs function is first
For those people that don't know what the ENFP is, just run through those.
Yes, it's extrovert, intuitive, feeling, perceiving. And what that basically means is that our extroverted intuition is our primary cognitive function. What that means is we don't necessarily look at sensory facts, but we're constantly intuiting information from our environment, people and things. And then our second line of decision making or functioning is our internal feeling. Now, like my girlfriend's second line, she's an ISFJ. Her second line is external feeling. What that means is she is always considering others' feelings, and that's what her decisions are based on. She's a very selfless person, and when she makes a decision, the process is, yes, she checks in with herself, but it's how is this going to affect everyone around me?
Which is a gift.
Which is a gift to everyone else around her. And at the same time, we talk about boundaries. Obviously, her cup isn't always getting filled as a result. In our case, we're internal feelers. What that means is we really need that time that you talk about where we check in and we're like, really, what is in alignment? Because we're constantly getting all this external information, and we're like, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that,
and
then,
we do,
and then there are limits. There are limits, and at a certain point, when there are so many things we're interested in, there has to be an internal check of, okay, what is truly in alignment, and if I were to prioritize all of these different things, what is at the top? What is really what I want to do, not what just I feel like doing in a particular moment that just catches my eye. To me, that's what values are.
What's your practice, Justin? What is it that you do to center that self?
So, meditation is super helpful for me. Everybody has different meditative practices. I think, for some people it's very simple, and it's meditating on your breath. And, I've done that meditation. It works. It's calming. There's
other things you do though too. Center yourself.
Well, that's what I was gonna get at is for a feeling type, it's important to do meditation on your feelings, and to feel in your body what feels contracted. What are you considering as a choice in your life that feels contracted in your body? And then what are you considering as a choice in your life that feels open and that feels light and that feels not burdensome, that feels joy? If I was living from that place all the time, then my decisions would be from that internal guidance system. Unfortunately, for all of us, we have that internal guidance system, and we also have competing interests. We do have our families and our friends and all of our relationships, and we do have the life that we've created or co-created for ourselves. And so it goes back to what you were saying of there needs to be an acknowledgement of how important it is to honor yourself. Because if you don't, then literally everyone else that you care about and love is missing out on you.
Yes.
So
what I think is also great about that you said is, as Justin was talking about that, and I'm sure this is something you offer your clients as well, is creating a list of things. So sometimes you can't even think about what's important to you. And if you can go look at your list, like, okay, these are things that are important to me, I can, like, if I can't think of anything that's going to boost me back up, I can just also look at something off my list. Maybe it's go get a massage or whatever.
Sometimes it's the littlest things. Could I just like lay in bed for 30 minutes before I have to go to sleep and like read a book, And
not be bothered.
And yeah, exactly. And some people actually have no idea because they have just got so lost in everybody else because all they have to do is give.
How do you bring them back to that point then and start creating that?
So it comes from getting them focused and present on, what's working in their life. Mm-hmm. What's going well? What do you love about what's going on in your world right now?
It's a great place to check in.
And you start because it creates the energy, creates itself. It's almost like it's kind of like if you hang around somebody who's really happy, it's all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel a little bit better. You hang around somebody who's like, their energy's a little bit heavier and they're sad. You just kind of feel sad. So it's just like you can cultivate it, and so you get people start focusing on what they love about themselves versus what they don't like. All of a sudden, they're going to have access to different kinds of thoughts and feelings. And then that's going to trigger the next, because it's going to start with your how you feel inside, and then it's going to give you a thought, and then you're going to take an action.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what is it that you're so passionate about when it comes to that one-on-one connection with people? Like, what is it that touches you? It's like, I like to give the example of, I know when I am doing something that brings me complete bliss, it's like a basketball player on the court and they've got the ball and there's that moment. There's like nothing else matters in life. You can be in that moment it's timeless. Talk a little bit about that when it comes to what you do and why you do it.
Honestly, I love people. I think people are amazing, like through and through, like no joke. And so I want them to see what I see because I see it in everybody. And so when I get the opportunity to connect with somebody really genuinely, there's nothing more fulfilling to me than that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
How do you get them to see their own greatness inside of those moments?
I listen to them I listen to them as their greatness. It's kind of like people will step into the shoes that you give them. So if you think that they can, I had a coaching call the other night, and my girl and the woman I was coaching was just like, do you think this is really needed in the world? I'm like, are you kidding? Is this needed in the world?
Yeah.
I was like, you know how many women are looking for somebody to support them in this way? And she's like, okay, all right. Like, we just doubt ourselves so much, to step into these spaces that are unknown. And so when you just have somebody that believes in you, if you think about in your life, somebody that's believed in you, can you just think, if you just really stop and think about somebody who's believed in you, whether it be your mother, your friend, your spouse, and the difference that's been for you, just think about that. Is like what coaching is. It's like, I believe in people beyond where they believe themselves to be, and there's nothing else for me to do than be that space for people. Like, what else? I don't know, man.
That's great.
Yeah. And so it's, I'm wired that way, and I get to ask them questions, and it pulls it out of them. I'm not giving them answers.
Yeah.
They're gonna find their own answers. I'm
great.
just gonna give them this space to actually hear something that they've never heard before, because they feel safe. They feel not judged. They feel loved. They feel I hold them accountable. Like, we need accountability as well.
Do you have a coach in your own life? Like, do you have coaches?
I do, yes. I believe that you have to practice what you preach.
Yeah.
You really do. Yes, I've met many coaches. Oh my goodness. Save me from myself, please. I know all this, and please still save me from myself.
Yeah.
Because I only believe I can be, I can do so much as well.
What's great about what you just said too is there's the other element to that is that when someone has, like the woman you're just talking about, she has a great idea. It's like, is this something really needed in the world? When you take that even further, it's like, okay, that's where you also start to develop your listening and your intuition is. This is, in a bigger collective sense, this thought that you're having to provide this service or need to the world is being created by a need that's already out there.
Yeah.
And if you're not the one that's going to do it, there is going to be someone else that's going to create it and do it. So then the quote is like, if not now, when? And if not me, then who? And so it's so great when you start, and for me, I mean, for all of us probably, I mean, how many times have you seen something that's been produced like, oh my God, I thought about doing that a year ago and I took no action on it and now here it is. Well, there you go.
But and that's okay because there's always a different, energy that you would bring to doing this very same thing.
Absolutely. And that's, for me, when I started getting that, took a lot of that pressure off because I'm someone that's very full of visionary, creative ideas, and there's no way I can act on all of them.
Yeah.
And even with this show, like there's lots of people that have talk shows or whatever. It's like there's nothing that special about what we're doing, and we bring a unique conversation to what we get to talk about because it's us. Yeah. And so that's what there is to really look at. Like even with I've looked at that with my own coaching business and developing my own business. It's like, it's because I bring something to it that nobody else can bring to it. And I will attract those people that need what I have to offer. Yes. Period.
In the history of the universe, no one has ever been you or you or you or me. And that's the uniqueness.
They have tried.
I know. Sometimes tried to be replicated, but never duplicated. Jessie Farrell.
I believe it. Oh. And it comes down to really understanding. It's so true. It's like, no one is any of us, but it's you understanding that and owning that.
Something that really sets me off is the unworthiness that human beings have. A lot of us are given a narrative through our family. You're stupid. You're not smart enough. You'll never be anything. Or they're given a narrative through their church. You have original sin. You're not good enough. The divine won't accept you. Or they're given a narrative through their boss. You're not a good enough employee. You don't do what you need to do. Look at the other producer. How in the world are we supposed to get through this life with joy and peace and happiness if we have unworthiness? And I've heard it said that is the worst thing human beings have ever put on themselves, is unworthiness. You have the divine spark within you. You have light and love and joy and peace. That's who you are at your core. People need to know you're worthy. You're good enough just the way you are.
Yeah. They really do, and that's why that's why coaching is so brilliant, because that's what a coach does. It just you know that about them. And when this a long time ago, I read this thing from Bob Proctor. It was like 15 years ago, and I remember him saying, "Don't hang around anybody who doesn't believe you're special." And part of me was like, "Well, that's kind of weird. Don't hang around anybody who doesn't think that's really arrogant." Okay. And can I tell you how many times I've repeated that? Yeah. And I know that sometimes when I repeat that, people are like, whatever. And that's cool because they're not ready to get that.
Yeah. They're not on that part of the journey.
And that's totally cool. But see, I don't change who I am because I know the right people are ready to understand how really special they are. Yeah. And then the moment they can understand how special they are, they understand how special I am. Yeah. How special you are. Yeah. And I want to hang around with people who think they're amazing, because then in that moment I know that they think I'm amazing, and it makes me more amazing. Yep. Because they just, it's just, Oh, it's contagious.
Like energy attracts like energy. If you spin yourself in that negativity, guess what? You'll be critical of those people and see the errors and the flaws. But then when you change the way you look through those lenses, you're like, wow, there's beauty. And look at that. I love her shoes. That really matches and all the things that you were talking about.
It's so great. I love that question. It was so amazing. And also then the other side to that, what you talked about, is why it's so great having a coach, whether it's a fitness coach, a life coach, a business coach, whatever it is you have to listen to the coach. That's why you've hired them. And so there's a moment of acceptance and surrender, because otherwise your brain and your mind is still telling you, well, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. Whatever. Like whatever there is, you're going to keep doing more of that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to hire a coach, then listen to them. Surrender. Like be coachable. And every time something wants to come out of your mouth, like I've done that, or I've tried that, or I've experienced that, or whatever, like, no, stop. This is a new moment of time. Like, listen, just surrender into the moment of coaching. And that's where transformation in your life can really start to begin.
That's good.
So important, so valuable.
It is, and it's very courageous. It's very courageous.
It takes a lot of courage.
To look at yourself and be responsible for yourself. If you're really out to be of service to other people, it's because you're really out to be of service here first.
Well, and also to trust someone enough that you're going to surrender to what they're saying.
I'm going to say you got to trust yourself enough.
Trust yourself, yeah.
Because here's the deal.
Good.
It's really about you trusting you no matter what's placed in your path. So thank you for saying that, because for so many years, I was like all about, well, I can't trust him anymore. I can't trust, I was in a marriage where it was just this violation kept occurring, and I was like, well, I can't trust him. And what I got was like, I just couldn't trust that I would make the best decision to take care of myself. And I had no power when I was like all over there with him. And then I was just like, no, Tarley, you trust that the decision you're going to make, you'll figure it out. And I just took it all from out there to me. No, it's about me trusting me and making the decisions. I'll handle anything I get myself into.
Human beings in general are vulnerable, right? We're just vulnerable by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're vulnerable to is our own insecurities, which is why when we have this discussion, it's not about trusting someone else, it's about trusting ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in knowing that, so much of the self-help market is based on identifying the vulnerability and marketing to that vulnerability so that people will have a pain point in order to purchase from or in order to act from.
Yep.
You are a coach and an individual that I can feel from the moment that you're in my presence, that you authentically love human beings and want to truly bring out the very, very essential best nature of people.
So everybody's in a different place. So there are people who are ready to take on their lives and be responsible for the results they've produced and how they can, now do it differently. And there's people where they cannot see how they need to be responsible. So I interact with people differently. The ones that can't see it, I provide it's like I just listen to them. And once they get it all out, then there becomes this blank space. See, now something can be created, and I can ask questions to have new information to come into. But a lot of times, if they're not willing to be responsible and they're just thinking that they're a victim of the world, there's listening that can be provided to clear it all out so that something new can emerge.
Oh, that's great.
So it's different. Yeah. I dance. It's a dance.
It is a dance. It really and is. Also, don't you find that it's more rare that you would find people like that?
I have some. I definitely have some. And they'll get to a place where there's not much more for them to say, and they'll either want to still continue the conversation to now hear my feedback and to allow my questions in, or they'll be complete and they will have nothing, and they're complete at that point with working with me. And I have no attachment to it. Yeah. I just allow them to guide, and I just give them, I step with them.
Yeah.
And so, and they're all different needs.
It's so great.
They really are.
Great.
It's a great
question.
That's amazing.
Go ahead.
Awesome question. Tarley, thank you so much for being here.
Yay!
It's been great. On the screen, some contact information if you would like to get a hold of Tarley Reed and have her tell you all the things she has within her and bring out all the things within you, and you'll have this wonderful synergy. She's an amazing person. She's beautiful on the inside, beautiful on the outside, and all around her is light and love. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was
Thank you.
such a joy for me.
So much fun.
Thank you.
Now is the time in the show where we like to have a turning stone, something to set your intention, something to ponder for the week. And with today's turning stone, we go to Jesse.
The question to practice this week is, what does your soul desire to experience in this moment, and in this moment of time that would have it be fulfilled? So today's topic was so great, talking with Tarley and creating balance in our lives, the effective communication, and then also just personal fulfillment when it comes to joy and filling your energy back up and noticing when you are depleted, what kinds of things make you depleted. So this week, your homework, Turning Stone listeners, is this. Take an inventory list and see all the things in your life that currently are depleting your energy, chipping away like we talked about in today's episode. And then also maybe create a list beside it of all the things that you could start to do to build your energy back up, to fill yourself back up. And so this week, maybe it's one or two things, maybe it's a big thing, but see if you can begin a new practice, whether it's laying in bed 30 minutes before you go to sleep at night and just enjoying some time alone, whether it's driving in your car with no music on or with music on or not being on the phone or whatever it is. Pick something this week that you can take on that would fill you back up with energy so you have more to give when you go out into your workplace, more to give in your relationships, and even more to give yourself because you've filled yourself up. And remember, this is a show about questions and questioning. It is not a show about answers. Nothing we say here is the truth. It is up to each of us to discover our own truth.
Join us each week on the Turning Stone Show as we continue the journey of conversations.
Subscribe and get in touch with us. Stay connected and join in the conversation.